Howdy everybody! Today we are covering the Ninja 500 SE versus all of the competition. I thought, what a better way to do this. I'm gonna do a classic old school vlog. I'm on a Ninja 500 SE, and I can talk about all the other bikes in the category because there are a ton to talk about. If I forget any motorcycle, please let me know in the comments down below, and I will try to answer with my opinions on a bike like that. But without further ado, let's jump in with the first thing I gotta tell you guys, that this motorcycle is a giveaway bike on YamiNoob.co. We had to do it to him. We had the RS 457 for a little bit. Quick giveaway on that one. If you missed it, don't worry. You still have the chance to win this Ninja 500 SE. Make sure you go over to YamiNoob.co, become a member, get signed up. That's the best way to win. You stack up your entries, assign them to all of our future giveaways. It's a ton of fun to get involved with what we do here. You also get discounts on the store and access to our infamous Discord server and the ability to join up on the live stream as well. So let's talk about the obvious competitor, the CF Moto 450SS. Now, the CF Moto 450SS is the new kid on the block. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody loves that motorcycle. Great bike there, and people are really enjoying the CF Moto. And the reliability reports so far have been pretty decent, much better than a Chinese bike would have been expected to provide. The CF Moto is a bit cheaper than the Ninja 500 SE, costing, I believe, $57.99 MSRP. It features a 450cc parallel twin engine with a 270-degree crank. Now, that is very notable because the Ninja 500 is slowly becoming the bike in the category with the 180 crank, and it's losing out on that character a little bit. Similar power outputs to the Ninja 500, makes about 48 horsepower, I believe, and 30-something foot-pounds of torquerinos. And it has kind of the new age LED lights. It looks a little cool, and it's got the cool dash and everything. So you get the TFT, you get the cool looks, you get the updated vibe. And with an exhaust, it sounds pretty good. It's a pretty sweet little motorcycle. The big question is, Yam, would you get one over a Ninja 500? And the answer is probably not. And the reason I wouldn't is because the 500 SE is really playing in a really cool area where it is a very well-balanced motorcycle. It can be used for light touring duty. It's got a USB-C output right here, a taller windshield, just some comfort features that allow this motorcycle the ability to cruise around a lot more than the CF Moto 450SS. And also, perhaps I'm a little biased, but I do think Japanese build quality and reliability is nothing to be scoffed at. Even though we do have great reports coming in from the CF Moto 450SS, I would still trust my hard-earned money on a Japanese motorcycle that I know is going to have fantastic resale qualities, that I know is going to have great build quality and reliability, and just really work really well. One of the interesting things on the CF Moto is that it does have a Brembo caliper up front, but I'll be honest, this Ninja 500 has very similar stopping power despite not having a Brembo caliper. It has a Nissan axially mounted caliper up at the front, pinched through a pretty normal little master cylinder, but great progressive power out of the braking system on the Ninja 500. And yeah, if it were my money, I'd probably pick the Ninja 500 over the CF Moto. I think the CF Moto I'd probably place third on my list of beginner sport bikes. So the other big entry is the RS 457. Now, we did a detailed comparison between these two models while we still had the RS 457 as a giveaway motorcycle. And it's really hard to choose between the two, and I think the buyer for each of those motorcycles is very different. So the RS 457 is similarly priced at $62.99. If memory serves me correctly, your out-the-door price will likely be a little above $8,000 depending on where you live. That's about what I paid for both the Ninja 500 and the RS 457. Now, the RS 457 is obviously the track-ready entrant in this category. It's a motorcycle that, by design, with its aluminum twin-spar frame, Aprilia's pedigree in racing, the 270-degree parallel twin, some of the design characteristics from the big brother RS 660, which is a fantastic motorcycle. It is certainly the better handling, more sporting, super fun motorcycle to ride. You don't get an RS 457 because you want a comfortable, usable, all-day friendly motorcycle. It's a little bit more aggressive than the Ninja 500. It doesn't have the creature comforts. It's not really built to have creature comforts, and that's what you got to know going in, right? And it's hard to deny that the RS457 is just a supremely fun motorcycle to ride. You guys saw my first ride and review on that bike, and I was smiling ear to ear. It has such a fun, peppy, effervescent quality to it that the 500 here just simply doesn't have. Torque and horsepower outputs are very similar. The Ninja has 51 horsepower, so it's a little bit up on power of the RS457, but the RS457 is a little bit lighter, and so the acceleration is very similar between the two models. If it were my money and I had to pick between the two, I would probably pick the Aprilia RS457 just because it has a little bit more exotic allure. It's a little bit more emotional. It's a little bit more Italian. It has big bike presence and feel, in my opinion. It sounds cool. It's got a proper frame on it. And it's a bike that, although you wouldn't be able to, you know, do sport touring on, I mean, you could. It's not as comfortable as the Ninja 500. You can't ride that bike as easily as you could this bike for a long period of time. You can keep the RS457 as a awesome track day bike, entry-level racing bike. Like, there's so much you can do with that motorcycle that I feel like it just absolutely is worth the money that they're asking for. So I still think the RS457, king of the crop, but this is certainly the most usable and everyday friendly motorcycle in the category, and it's still a great bike. Still handles really well. This Ninja 400 frame that this bike is in basically still performs super well. It's a really nice package to be on, and any beginner rider would be happy to own it. And if you like green, well, this is the bike for you. This bike is certainly very green. So let's talk a little bit about Honda's offering the CBR 500R. My least favorite bike in the category. Why is that? It's way too much money. It's over $7,000 MSRP. I think it's like $74.99 if memory serves me correctly. And so you're talking a $9,000 plus out the door motorcycle for a bike that does everything this bike does, but worse. It has an engine with less character. It doesn't have the creature comforts, the touring comforts that this bike has. The TFT display is nicer on the Ninja 500, and even though the Ninja 500 has crept up in price, I think that the amenities offered here vastly outpace the Honda CBR 500R. I still think that there is virtually no reason to buy a CBR 500R when you have the Ninja 500, the RS457, CF Moto 450 SS, all for less money, offering more. I really think that Honda needs to rapidly adjust and fix their entry-level lineup, otherwise they're going to be left in the dust. So the 500 here from the Ninja absolutely beats the Honda, hands down. Let's talk about Yamaha in terms of another beatdown, the R3. Oh my goodness, Yamaha, you gotta update the R3. It's starting to get a little ridiculous. You're starting to look like Suzuki, which we will talk about in just a moment here. It is difficult to simp for a Yamaha beginner bike at this point that isn't something like an MT-07 or an R7. It's really difficult. I think Yamaha absolutely owes it to the category to just pull a CF Moto. You know, I know that sounds crazy, but literally just make a shrunken down, you know, 450-ish cc parallel twin with the 270 crank. Maybe hit the MT-07 engine with the shrink ray and just do that. I think that would work really well. Obviously the price has to be a major consideration there, because there's no way you could do that and make it be the same price as the CF Moto, because I'm pretty sure that the CF Moto receives some sort of subsidy from the Chinese government, because there's no way it can be that cheap, right? Let's get a little pull on the 500. Look at this little pocket rocket. That's fun. And that's something that the R3 is missing. It's power. The R3 is still powered by a 321cc parallel twin with a 180 crank. It's massively outgunned in both performance and power and torque and in just every way, shape, and form. The R3 never quite handled as well as the Ninja 400, although the R3 does rev really high. It revs really high for that type of engine. I think it redlines a little over 13,000 RPM, which is awesome, but it doesn't make a whole lot of power doing it. The R3 does look pretty cool. R-Bike styling is certainly one of my favorites, but if that's all it has going for it, it can't really justify the price that they're asking, which is, I think at this point, over $5,000. I think it's like $56.99 for an R3. So Yamaha's got to do something, otherwise there's virtually no point in me recommending a Yamaha R3 over a Ninja 500. Certainly not. And certainly not when the RS457 and CF Moto exist in this category. So the R3, probably 4th on my list, maybe 5th. It's pretty hard to say. Now, Suzuki. What's Suzuki doing, Yam? GSX-250, come on, folks. Come on. Long in the tooth, woefully outdated, woefully slow, asking way too much money for it. There's basically no reason to buy a GSX-250R at this point. There's pretty much not. So we're not even going to pretend like we're going to talk about that bike. Let's talk about the Austrians. KTM RC390 versus the Ninja 500. Now, the RC390 is likely due for an update as well. We just saw the Duke 390 receive frame and engine updates. It now uses a 399cc single-cylinder engine and an updated frame, a little bit more sophisticated TFT, some electronics, and the KTM's always been the kind of fun, happy-go-lucky motorcycle, right? The RC390 was, up until the RS457, one of the raciest options you could get, and it still is. It's still a very fun, pokey, awesome little bike. It has an ultra rigid chassis. It feels really good to ride, but ultimately, until they adjust that engine to compete a little bit better with the power output that the 457 and the 500 has, it's hard for me to recommend it. If you really want something that is like ultra razor sharp handling and ultra lightweight and extremely narrow, that's something that the RC has that these bikes nowadays, the 457 and the 500, they've all kind of ballooned in size a little bit. Their fairings are a little bit big, they're a little bit wide, they're a little bit kind of grandiose, right? Elegant in the way they go down the road, much more of a sport touring type of experience. The RC390 is a little race bike, right? And they were used as a Cup Series in Moto America because they were so good several years ago, and they're still an awesome track day toy. But I think that, you know, unless you really are very committed to track day stuff, the RC390 isn't a particularly good street bike. It's quite vibey from the single cylinder, and a multi-cylinder engine just works a little bit better as a street bike in my opinion. Watch this gravel here, got a little squirm from the tires, and that's always quite fun, isn't it? Check the grip on the bike. So yeah, RC390, I think it's a little too razor focused aggressive for my taste for the street. It's a little vibey, and it's just not as everyday usable and comfortable and flexible as both the 500 and the 457. So that would be my pick. Look at all this gravel here, look at that. That would be my pick for between the 500 and the RC390. So folks, that sums up my thought on the Ninja 500 versus everything else in the category. What do you think? Did I miss any motorcycles? Do you agree with my rankings? I would probably, like I said, I think the RS457 is still the king. What a great motorcycle, so much fun to ride. Aprilia really nailed it. I think it's just a fantastic option. I really think I'd place the Ninja 500 in a close second, honestly. I really think I'd place this motorcycle in a nice, tight, close second to it. This bike really has a lot going for it, but I just don't think it can compete with the RS457. And I think the CF Moto is third, and then maybe in a quite distant fourth would be the R3. No, the RC390 is better than the R3. I put that fourth. Fifth, I would do R3. Sixth, I would do Honda CBR 500R. And then seventh, in a distant seventh, I'd put the Suzuki GSX-250R. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments down below. And remember, giveaway Ninja 500 SE right here. Click that link down below on yamanoob.co. Do not miss your chance to win this awesome little entry-level motorcycle. If you've been trying to get into bikes, you like the beginner sport bike category, this is a great way to do it. We've given away over 53 different motorcycles over the last 5 years, valued at over $500,000. Catch you guys in the next one. See you later.
Watching Yami